Hi, boys and girls. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I have a story to tell you today, and there are a lot of details, and so I wrote it all out, so I'm going to read part of it. I hope you don't mind if I'll do that, but I want to tell you the story just right, okay? And this is a story about dishonesty. Dishonesty. And it's about a lady named Alice. Her name was Alice Grayson, and she was a single mother. She wasn't married, and she had a couple of children. And she lived in Arizona at the time. That's a state of Arizona that's south of us here. And she began to attend a new church. She went to this new church, and she really wanted to fit in. And the problem was that the people there at this church thought pretty highly of themselves. They were pretty fancy schmancy people. We would call them uppity people who you had to fit in just right. You had to be like them. You had to have as much money as they had, and you had to dress as nicely as they did, and you had to have nice cars like they had. You know what kind of people I'm talking about? And so they were kind of tough to make your friends, but Alice really wanted to fit in. She wanted to be a part of this new church family that she was trying to join. And so when she heard that there was going to be a ladies group, they had a group of ladies at church, and that group of ladies had decided they were going to have a bake sale. You know what a bake sale is? That's where everyone bakes a cake or cookies or a pie or something, and everyone brings their gift of a cake or cookies or pie or whatever. They bring it to the church, and then they lay them all out, and they put price tags on them, and people buy them, and they raise money to help pay for something at church. And so when she heard that the ladies group at church was going to have a bake sale, she jumped at the chance to volunteer to bake a cake for it. That way maybe she could make some friends with the people. They would see that she wanted to be a part of their group, you know. "Oh, I'll help," she said. And so she was going to do that, and they were counting on her baking a cake for the bake sale. But when the morning of the bake sale came and Alice woke up, she had forgotten all about it. Alice kind of was a little forgetful. And she had forgotten all about the bake sale. And she thought, what am I going to do? I haven't made anything. And so then she started looking through her kitchen cupboards, and she started looking for something that she could make. And all she could find was an old angel food cake mix. You know how a cake mix is in a box, right? And the only cake mix that she had was for an angel food cake. Have you ever had an angel food cake? Oh, they're delicious. In fact, I made a picture of what one looks like. That's an angel food cake right there. Now, do you remember that? Maybe you've had that. This is the kind of a pan that they make them in, and it has that center part, so it keeps a little hole in the center of the angel food cake. And what's really important is that you be very gentle with this cake when you pull it out of the oven, because as the cake batter rises to make a big cake, a lot of air gets trapped inside, and that's what makes it go higher and higher. It's got a bunch of air in there, and it makes it kind of like a sponge. You know how sponges have little holes in them? Well, you don't see the holes in this cake very well, but it's got a lot of air in it. And when it's really hot and it's just finished baking, well, you shouldn't shake it too much, because all the air will go, it'll go right out, and it will actually make the rest of the cake go flat like that. So it's a kind of an important thing to be very careful and very gentle with this kind of a cake when you bake it, okay? Well, so she mixed it up, and she was really busy, because not only did she have to make the cake, but that was the morning she had washed her hair, and she had to dry her hair real quick, and while the cake was in the oven, and she was drying her hair, and she was helping her son pack, because she was going to take him to camp a little bit later that day. And so she was very busy running around while that angel food cake was being baked in the oven. And in all the confusion, she quickly took the cake out of the oven, and she handled it too fast. She shook it too much. She didn't realize that, and she dropped it accidentally on the table when she was trying to put it there because it was hot. And do you know what it did? All of the air blew out of the cake, you might say. It came out of the cake, and the cake went flat. And I got a picture of what a flat angel food cake looks like. That doesn't look very good, does it? It all went flat, and it was all ugly. I'll tell you about this other picture in a minute. But that cake looked horrible. And now Alice thought, what am I going to do about this cake? And well, baking the cake was really important to Alice because she, like I told you before, she really wanted to fit in with these people. So, being somewhat creative, she started looking around her house to find something to help fill the center of this cake and make it look a little better, because she was going to put icing on this cake and try and make it look like this. And so she was looking all around the house. What can I put in the middle here before I put the icing on the cake to make it look nice like this cake? And she looked and she looked, and you know what she found? She found it in the bathroom. Do you know what it was? You probably guessed. It was a roll of toilet paper. Yes, that's what she found, was a roll of toilet paper. And she said, I think I know what to do. And so she tried stuffing that roll of toilet paper down in the center part of that cake. And once she had it in there, she started putting all the icing on all around the toilet paper. And so no one would know it was toilet paper. Well, you say, how was she going to keep that from everyone at the bake sale? Well, she got an idea. Let me see where it says what she did. Let's see. Oh, that's what it was. Let's see. No, I got to find out where my notes are. I'm sorry. She put it in there. She put the icing on, and it looked beautiful. And the church was on her way to work. And so before she left the house to drop off the cake, she woke up her daughter. Now, her daughter was old enough and had a license and had her own car. And so she was going to be able to drive. And she woke up her daughter, Amanda, and she gave her some money. And she said, don't spend this on yourself. I have a plan. She said, I want you to go to that bake sale. It's going to start at 9:30 in the morning this morning. So I want you to go to that bake sale. I want you to find this cake. She showed her the cake. You look around and you'll find this cake. And when you see it, you buy that cake with this money. That way no one will know what was inside the cake. You buy it back. And everyone will at least know that I was supportive of the bake sale, and they will feel okay about me being a part of the church, right? And so her daughter was supposed to do that. Well, the problem was that, the problem was that Amanda was just as forgetful as her mom was. And she forgot all about going to the bake sale. And when she finally remembered, she drove there quickly and she had the money. And she went there and looked at all the tables to find out where that one cake was. And it had already been sold. She didn't know who got it, and who sold it. It was gone. That cake had been bought by someone who was going to discover eventually that it was full of toilet paper. Can you imagine that? So Amanda, immediately she grabbed her cell phone. She called her mom. She told her what had happened. Alice was horrified when she heard about this, and she figured someone was going to know that it was her cake. And what would they think about Alice for daring to do that, make a cake like that, and actually take it to a bake sale? And it was full of toilet paper. She was going to be pushed out of the group, the ladies' group. She might be made fun of at church. She might not be able to keep or have any friends. And she really wanted to be a part of that church group. And so, all night that night, Alice laid in bed thinking about everyone probably pointing the finger at her and talking about what a loser she was and how she would dare do something so silly and so unkind and so inappropriate, you know, those kinds of things. Well, the next day, Alice woke up and she said, I'm going to promise myself that I'm not going to think about that cake. And besides, Alice had been invited to a fancy bridal shower that someone was putting on in their home. It was at the home of a friend's friend. And she was going to go to this bridal shower where mostly ladies like to go to those. And she was going to go, and she thought, well, I'll go anyway and I'll have a good time. I'll keep my mind off of that cake that I made and that I didn't get to buy back. Well, at first she didn't want to go because she knew that the hostess actually went to her church. And that lady was kind of a snob, you know. She was kind of uppity and thought she was better than a lot of other people. And she very often would look down her nose at Alice, not only because she was a single parent, she didn't have a husband, but also because Alice wasn't from one of the more important families at church. She didn't have all the money that most of these ladies had, and she didn't have the fancy clothes and all of that, you know. And so she wasn't sure she wanted to go, but since Alice had already promised that she would attend the shower, she went, and she couldn't think of an excuse not to go. So she went, and the whole event was elegant. They had all of their fancy tablecloths and fancy plates, and you know, and it was a beautiful home, and you know, all these wealthy things that they had in there, and all of the ladies who came dressed so, you know, nicely, and it was really impressive, very fancy. And everybody there thought a lot of themselves. That's the kind of people they were. Even the mayor's wife was there. The mayor of the city, you know, that's the man in charge of the city. And his wife was even at this shower. Oh, well, it was a very, very beautiful event. But then, to Alice's horror, the very cake that she had made was brought out, and it was going to be served for dessert. She realized that the very lady who owned the house and was throwing this shower was the one who bought that cake, so she could serve it at her shower. Oh no! When she saw it, Alice began to feel a little faint. She wasn't sure what she was going to do. She said, I'd better tell the hostess. I better tell her the truth, tell her all about it so she doesn't cut that cake, you know? But before she could even get to her feet, the mayor's wife spoke up, and she said to the hostess, that snobby lady, she said, oh, what a beautiful cake. And everyone now was looking at the cake. So Alice couldn't stop and, you know, have them take the cake away or anything, because everyone's attention was now on the cake. And do you know, after the mayor's wife said, what a beautiful cake, do you know what that hostess said? Here's the big line for the story. She said, thank you, I made it myself. Did she make it herself? No, Alice made the cake, and it was full of toilet paper. But this lady took credit for it when she hadn't done anything but buy it at the bake sale. That's dishonest, isn't it? She took credit for this beautiful cake that it looked really, really nice, and everyone was looking forward to having a slice of that cake, right? Well, the snobby lady was dishonest and took credit for what looked like a beautiful and delicious cake. And you know the end of the story, don't you? I guess they eventually cut into that cake, and who do you think had to be embarrassed? It wasn't Alice, because nobody knew that Alice had made the cake with toilet paper in it. It was the lady who took credit for it when she should not have, right? That was dishonest, wasn't it? You know, Alice spent all of her time trying to make up for the dishonest things she had done. At least she tried to fix it, but she didn't get it done in time, and that was dishonest, and it created its own problems. But the other lady was also dishonest, and she paid a terrible price for it. All the other ladies probably talked about her now and laughed at her and didn't want to be around her. I don't know if that happened, but oh, that's not good to be dishonest, is it? And that's what this story is about, being dishonest. You know, so often we'll tell little, what we call white lies, to try to make up for something or to try to fit in somewhere or to try not to get in trouble. We're dishonest sometimes and we think, well, it's just a little tiny lie, right? Well, look what the book of Numbers in the Bible, Numbers 32:23, here's what it says. It says, you may be sure, you may be certain that your sin will find you out. In other words, it'll all come out in the end, and might come back to hurt you. So it's better for us to obey the Lord when he says, thou shalt not lie, right? The Bible also calls it bearing false witness, right? Telling something that's false. So it's important for us to be honest, or crazy things could happen and we could get hurt. Okay, that's our story today. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed this story because it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of sad, isn't it? And it teaches us an important lesson. Okay, let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for reminding us how important it is for us to just be honest and help us not to think that we have to work so hard to fit in. Help us to just be ourselves, to honor you, and to obey and be kind. And we know that as we tell the truth, you will reward us. You will take care of us, and you'll take care of our situations, whatever they are. Help us to be honest and to honor you. And we thank you and pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.